Well, hello folks, it's been a while. It is still technically early spring in 2025, and I wanted to make this video to show you something I've been experimenting with for a couple of years off camera, and I think I'm finally ready to show it. I'm gonna kind of do a mini grow guide for pawpaw, and that's what you see right here. It's the pawpaw tree. And I have a bloom on it, a blossom. I wanted to share that with you because I've never seen one. There you go, little pawpaw blossom. And you can see the little leaves starting to come out here. So that is the pawpaw. I have another one in a pot that's been there for several years like this one. I think about 2 or 3 years I've had it in a pot. And as I've mentioned with any East Texas type natives, you want to grow them in a pot for a while if you have rocky soil like I have. And I've been kind of experimenting with how they grow. So I'll share with you what I've discovered. I would not say this is a full grow guide. I'm not going to be confident calling this a grow guide until I get this tree to live till it gets much bigger. So share with you what I know so far. Like all my East Texas natives, they like to grow in shade, partial shade or even total shade. Even if the instructions for growing them says to grow them in full sun, you want to grow them in shade. If you have rocky soil like I do, you're going to want to enrich the soil so maybe it can drain better. And they're going to need a lot more water than most of your other plants in the cross timbers. Maybe even more water than they would need in their native environment. So what I did is I grew them in a pot for 2 or 3 years until they had a good root base. I planted them here in the ground. This dirt here in my yard is probably the most enriched. It's the soil that I have spent the most time trying to convert, which makes it more well drained. It's also very moist here. Any East Texas plants, they have higher water requirements than any native cross timbers plants. So like this right here is an East Texas native as well. It's a wildflower. But as long as you give them extra water, it should be okay. Keep them in partial shade and put them in the best drained soil that you have, and we'll see what happens. So far this transplant has taken. We'll see how it goes. I should mention that this is not the first time that I've experimented with pawpaw. I've had probably 15 of these trees over the years, and this is the furthest I've been able to get them to survive. So making a video about this for me is significant. So and I don't know anybody else growing this tree in my area, so maybe this will be useful for someone. You can also want to mention, I told you that the secret is shade, and that accounts for the location that I've chosen here. I've got these plum trees here, which won't get too tall, but currently they're tall enough to give some shade to this guy from the worst of the Texas sun. And it gets a bit in the morning and quite a bit in the late afternoon when the sun is much lower in the sky and it's much cooler. And because these East Texas natives don't seem to like the intense heat we get here. All right, let's have a word about what type of pawpaw this is. This is just a wild strain. I dug this up out of the wild, along with the other one that I have in a pot. The other 15 or so that I've had in the past, I've had everything from cultivars. Yeah, you can get pawpaw as a cultivar, various varieties, and claimed wild strain that I bought from various nurseries, and had various types of troubles with all of them, until I dug this up myself and kind of nursed it and then planted it. And wish me luck. That's the most I can share on the pawpaw. As you know, I like to do experimental crops every year, and I've been wanting to get pawpaw going for a while, and it looks promising so far. At least I got a blossom, and I figured I'd share it with you. As I mentioned, I like to do experimental crops every year. I experiment with something new. Last year's experiment, I did 3 or 4 different experimental crops, and this was the only one that I think is going to become a permanent staple in my permaculture system, and that is perennial kale. This stuff blows away the Georgia collards that I've been talking about for years in terms of its survivability. Zero plastic for the winter, zero irrigation for the summer, pretty much do nothing to take care of it, and it just loves it. You need to irrigate it at first to get it started, but once it gets this size, you pretty much don't have to do anything to it, and it just provides food. And we'll see how perennial it turns out to be, but so far so good. It's even survived better than the Georgia Collard, as I mentioned. We got down to 11 degrees Fahrenheit, completely uncovered, and it survived. Something else I did this year that was a little bit new is I did not weed out the grass in my garden beds. I left it kind of as an experiment. Yeah, this is Bermuda. And I've had a whole video on talking about eradicating Bermuda, but I'm going to start leaving the grass, or trying to get rid of the Bermuda, as I mentioned in other videos, and go to some native blue stem, because the insulative value for it, having it here during the winter, I noticed everywhere that I left the grass, my plants survived better, because as you might know if you watch my other videos, I don't like to use plastic, so I don't cover anything during the winter. It truly has to be permaculture before I'll use it in my system. But there you go. The results of my experiments last year, perennial kale, it's absolutely going to be my dominant green now. And I got more quince flowers than ever this year. This is what it looks like about 2 weeks after it bloomed. The whole thing was covered in red. I probably should have filmed it.